It began with Trippie Redd threatening 6ix9ine's family.
Oh no, we definitely got footage at the mom's crib. She live in building 18 out here.
But some people believe he took it even further by taking out 6ix9ine's girlfriend. Now word on the street is 6ix9ine has enacted his revenge after catching Trippie Redd slipping in New York. A whole lot is happening. Let me break it down. Why Trippie had Ariella killed. See, to really understand why someone would target 6ix9ine by taking out Ariella, we need to go back to where this whole mess started. Back in the mid-2010s, the SoundCloud rap scene was exploding, and both 6ix9ine and Trippie were coming up at the same time. These two guys were basically cut from the same cloth. Colorful hair, face tattoos, that melodic trap sound that was taking over the internet. They were both signed to 10K projects, working together, and seemed like genuine friends who were helping each other blow up. Their collaboration on Polls 1469 in 2017 wasn't just a business move. It showed real chemistry between Trippie's smooth melodic style and 6ix9ine's aggressive energy, and fans were eating it up. These guys were tight back then, sharing studio time, promoting each other's music, and acting like real day one friends who were gonna make it out of the struggle together. But here's where things get really personal, and this is the key to understanding why their beef got so toxic that it might have led to murder years later. The whole thing started falling apart because of women, specifically because 6ix9ine couldn't keep his hands off Trippie's girlfriend. But the smoking gun that shows 6ix9ine's pattern of going after his enemies through their women is right there in the footage. There's that clip of 6ix9ine with Trippie Redd's ex-girlfriend Alex, and he's obviously flaunting the relationship to hurt Trippie. This wasn't just about being with a girl he liked. This was psychological warfare designed to embarrass and emasculate Trippie in front of the whole hip-hop world. In the video, you can actually hear them talking trash about Trippie together.
This is that crazy. This is that same 6ix9ine. Yo, babe, look at this.
It is 6ix9ine. It's Treyway.
You right, babe. Bobs.
Now imagine you're Trippie Redd and you see your former friend publicly disrespecting you by messing with your girl and then posting videos about it online. This kind of personal violation goes way beyond regular beef. It's the type of humiliation that eats at you every single day. In hip-hop culture, where respect and reputation are everything, this was basically 6ix9ine trying to destroy Trippie's manhood in front of millions of people. The thing about this kind of deep personal beef is that it doesn't just go away. When someone publicly humiliates you by going after your woman, that's the type of disrespect that demands payback. His own friends even bring up the incident with 6ix9ine and his girlfriend just to tease and set Trippie off sometimes.
I bet if 6ix9ine would've gave me a wing, I would've hate my
And in the street world that both these guys were connected to, payback doesn't have an expiration date. What makes everyone believe Trippie had a hand in Ariella's death is how their beef escalated over the years. Their gang connections added a whole other level of danger. Trippie was running with the Crips, while 6ix9ine was connected to the 9 Trey Bloods. These weren't just casual affiliations for street cred. These were real connections that came with real obligations to retaliate when disrespected. The pattern of targeting each other through their women became a recurring theme in their relationship. Both artists seemed to understand that going after someone's girl was the most effective way to hurt them psychologically. It wasn't just about romance or attraction, it was about power, control, and inflicting maximum emotional damage on your enemy. Their beef also played out very publicly, with social media battles that got millions of views and kept both their names in the headline.
Everybody said your part of the song was.
But that's your biggest song. That's your biggest song. That's your biggest song. That's your biggest song.
It's not my biggest song.
Yeah, it is.
My biggest songs are Love Scars, Love, Dark Knight.
But while the public drama was good for their careers in some ways, it also meant that their personal hatred for each other was on display for everyone to see. The whole world knew these guys genuinely despised each other. By 2025, enough time had passed for him to plan something like this, but not enough time for the hatred to fade. Trippie had built his career and reputation, but the humiliation 6ix9ine put him through early on was still eating at him. Sometimes the desire for revenge gets stronger over time, not weaker. There's also the fact that Ariella had already been targeted once before because of her connection to 6ix9ine. Back in 2018, she was kidnapped by 9 Trey gang members who thought she was one of 6ix9ine's girlfriends. This showed that people knew she was connected to him and were willing to use her to get at him. The fact that she survived that first incident didn't make her safer. It probably made her more of a target because she had seen too much. When Ariella was found shot multiple times in her car on August 17th, 2025, police confirmed it was a targeted killing, not a random crime. The professional nature of the hit suggested this was planned and executed by someone someone with resources and connections, exactly the kind of operation that someone like Trippie, with his gang affiliations, could have arranged. The motive makes perfect sense when you think about it. Trippie couldn't really go after 6ix9ine directly. The guy was probably under federal protection after his snitching, had security, and kept a low profile. But going after someone close to him would hurt him just as much while being much easier and safer to pull off. The idea that gangs target loved ones to hurt their enemies is nothing new. It's a classic strategy that sends a message while avoiding direct confrontation. For Trippie, having Ariella killed would accomplish several things. It would hurt 6ix9ine emotionally. It would show that he could still reach him despite all his protection, and it would be payback for years of personal humiliation. The fact that Ariella had been in 6ix9ine's orbit for years, appearing in his music videos and staying connected through social media, made her a perfect target for someone looking to hurt him. She was visible enough that her death would definitely get back to 6ix9ine, but she probably wasn't important enough to have serious protection. When you add up all the factors, the deep personal hatred between Trippie and 6ix9ine, the pattern of targeting each other through their women, Trippie's gang connections that could facilitate a hit, and Ariella's previous victimization that showed she was already on people's radar, it creates a pretty compelling case that Trippie might have finally gotten his revenge. The streets don't forget, and they especially don't forget the kind of personal humiliation that 6ix9ine put Trippie through. In a world where respect is everything and being disrespected in front of millions of people is the ultimate violation, payback was always inevitable. The only questions were when it would come and who would pay the price. Unfortunately for Ariella, she became the answer to that second question. Her death might have been Trippie's way of finally settling a score that had been eating at him for years, proving that some beefs in the rap game go way deeper than music and can have deadly consequences for innocent people who just happen to be connected to the wrong person at the wrong time. But while Trippie's personal hatred gives him a strong motive for having Ariella killed, he wasn't the only enemy 6ix9ine had made over the years. When your own circle betrays you. The story of why Ariella Mejia Polanco ended up dead goes way beyond just the beef between 6ix9ine and Trippie Redd. While Trippie definitely had personal reasons to want 6ix9ine hurt, he was just one of many enemies that 6ix9ine had created through his own bad decisions and the snake behavior of people in his inner circle. To really understand how dangerous it was to be connected to 6ix9ine by 2025, we need to break down all the betrayals and backstabbing that destroyed his world from the inside out. The period between 2017 and 2018 was when everything started falling apart for 6ix9ine, but not because of outside enemies. It was because the people closest to him were playing him worse than any rival ever could. These weren't just business disagreements or creative differences. These were deep personal betrayals that created lasting enemies who would spend years looking for ways to get back at him. The first major betrayal came from someone who was supposed to be his closest friend and business partner, his manager, Kafano Shotty Jordan. While 6ix9ine was out there building his career and dealing with his beef with Trippie, Shotty was systematically betraying him in the most personal way possible. And this betrayal didn't just hurt 6ix9ine's feelings, it created another dangerous enemy who knew all his business and had every reason to want revenge.
When he hears the phone ring, I walk out because now I'm about to get into a deep conversation with Jay to front like, why'd you block my number? But the whole time I just wanted his phone to go through his phone. When I go to the other room, I swipe up, I go to the text messages and I put Sarah, my baby mom's number in. First message I see.
Wow.
Why'd you hang up on me? Call me after you done running. You still with that? Yo, like, call me back.
This wasn't just about infidelity or relationship drama. This was about power, control, and the systematic undermining of 6ix9ine's personal life by someone he trusted completely. The fact that it was happening while he was focused on his music career and dealing with other problems made it even more calculated and cruel. But what made this betrayal even worse was when it started. The affair began at the absolute worst time possible for 6ix9ine.
I said, when did it start? She said, yo. She said, remember that time you called me from jail and said you needed a lawyer, June 16th?
I'm sorry, y'all.
I swear to God. And I called her, she said, Shotty took me to get the lawyer. After we went to the lawyer, he took me to a spa downtown Manhattan.
The timing here is crucial to understanding just how calculated this betrayal really was. Shotty used 6ix9ine's arrest and vulnerability as an opportunity to move in on Sarah, using the excuse of helping get him a lawyer to spend time with her and ultimately seduce her. This wasn't just opportunistic, this was predatory behavior that showed Shotty was thinking several steps ahead about how to gain control over 6ix9ine's personal life. When 6ix9ine eventually found out about the affair and cut ties with Shotty, he didn't just lose a manager. He created an enemy who knew everything about his business operations aspirations, his personal relationships, his financial situation, and his vulnerabilities. Shotty had been deeply involved in 6ix9ine's day-to-day operations and had access to information that could be weaponized against him in multiple ways. Having a former insider with that level of knowledge and a personal grudge represented a permanent security threat, but the betrayals in 6ix9ine's inner circle were happening at the same time that his relationship with the 9 Trey gangsta bloods was also falling apart. The gang had initially welcomed him because his success was bringing serious money to their operations, but that same success was creating internal conflicts and power struggles. What started as a mutually beneficial relationship was turning into something much more dangerous and exploitative. The problems within 9 Trey were largely centered around the rivalry between Shotty and Anthony Harv Ellison, who was a high-ranking gang member and had been working as 6ix9ine's bodyguard. Ellison felt like 6ix9ine was making a mockery of gang life while getting all the benefits without putting in the real work or taking the real risks. He saw 6ix9ine as someone who was using the gang for street credibility while not really being about that life. This resentment came to a head in July 2018 when 6ix9ine was kidnapped by his own gang members, the very people who were supposed to be protecting him from his enemies. His account of the kidnapping showed just how dangerous his situation had become.
When he hits the U-turn, we get hit by a car from the back. Boom! I'm in the passenger seat, Jorge's driving. When I see a guy coming with a big gun, just like hooded on, running towards my door, my heart dropped to my ass.
The kidnapping was carried out by Ellison and another 9 Trey member, Aljamiah Nuke Mack, who forced 6ix9ine to renounce his gang affiliation on camera and robbed him for hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry. This wasn't just about money. This was about humiliation and showing 6ix9ine that no matter how famous or successful he became, he was still just another guy who could be violated whenever they felt like it. The kidnapping was a turning point that created multiple new enemies for 6ix9ine. Not only did he now have beef with Ellison and Mack personally, but his eventual testimony against them would send both men to prison for decades. This created ripple effects throughout their families, associates, and the broader 9 Trey organization, all of whom now had reasons to want revenge against 6ix9ine.
At this point, I'm snitch ready. You know what I'm trying to say? So a lot of people don't know this. I was snitching before I got locked up. But it wasn't official till I got locked up because I had to sign papers.
His cooperation with the feds created an entirely new category of enemies, not just the specific people he testified against, but everyone connected to 9 Trey who felt like his snitching had brought unwanted attention to their operations. His testimony exposed details about the gang's criminal activities and led to multiple prosecutions that disrupted their business. Every conviction that resulted from his cooperation meant another family affected, another associate looking for payback, another person with a grudge. The cultural backlash against his snitching was just as dangerous as the legal consequences for his former associates. Major figures in hip-hop publicly condemned him, with artists like Snoop Dogg and Meek Mill essentially giving their blessing to anyone who wanted to target him. When respected figures in the culture are calling you a rat and questioning your manhood, it sends a message to the streets that you're fair game for anyone looking to make a name for themselves. This created a perfect storm where 6ix9ine had enemies coming from multiple directions, all with different motivations but the same basic goal: to make him pay for what they saw as his betrayals. You had personal enemies like Trippie, who felt disrespected and humiliated. You had former business associates like Shotty, who felt used and discarded. You had gang members who felt snitched on and wanted street justice. And you had cultural gatekeepers who saw him as a violation of hip-hop's unwritten rules. But here's where it gets really dangerous for innocent people like Ariella. When you have that many enemies from that many different angles, everyone around you becomes a potential target. Research shows that people connected to high-profile targets often face increased risks of violence, even when they have nothing to do with the original conflicts. The danger doesn't come from just one source. It comes from multiple directions, making it almost impossible to predict or prevent. The fact that Ariella had already been kidnapped once in 2018 by 9 Trey members showed that multiple groups of people knew about her connection to 6ix9ine and were willing to use her to get at him. Her survival of that first incident might have actually made her more of a target, not less, because she had witnessed criminal activity and could potentially testify about what happened to her. All of these different conflicts and betrayals had created a web of enemies around 6ix9ine that included personal rivals, former business partners, gang members, and cultural critics. Each group had their own reasons for wanting to hurt him, but they all shared the understanding that going after him directly was difficult and dangerous, while targeting someone connected to him was much easier and potentially just as effective. The systematic betrayals that destroyed 6ix9ine's inner circle didn't just hurt his feelings or damage his career, they created lasting enemies who would spend years looking for opportunities opportunities to get revenge. And when that revenge finally came in the form of Ariella's murder, it represented the culmination of all the bad decisions, broken loyalties, and snake behavior that had been building up for years. The sad reality is that by the time Ariella was killed, the question wasn't whether someone wanted to hurt 6ix9ine through her, but rather which of his many enemies had finally decided to pull the trigger. The betrayals within his own circle had created so many potential threats that her death could have been ordered by any number of people with their own reasons for wanting to make 6ix9ine suffer. The multiple layers of enemies that 6ix9ine had created meant that anyone connected to him was living with a target on their back. And when that violence finally claimed Ariella's life, it showed that the consequences of betrayal and snitching in the street world don't have expiration dates. They just keep growing until innocent people pay the ultimate price. When your past catches up, the final price of betrayal and snitching. The streets have a way of collecting debts that you thought were written off. And on August 17th, 2025, 6ix9ine's past finally came calling in the most brutal way imaginable. Ariella La Langosta Mejia Polanco was found shot multiple times in her car on the Cross County Parkway in Mount Vernon, New York, and the way she was killed sent a clear message. The people 6ix9ine had crossed over the years were still out there, still angry, and still willing to spill blood to settle old scores. The police confirmed that her death was a targeted killing, not some random act of violence or robbery gone wrong. This was planned, calculated, and executed with the kind of precision that suggests either professional killers or people with serious resources and connections. The message was unmistakable. Being associated with 6ix9ine carried serious risks, and those risks could materialize at any time, anywhere, from any number of directions. But to really understand why Ariella got killed and who might have been behind it, we need to look at the bigger picture of how 6ix9ine's decision to snitch had created a permanent cloud of danger around everyone in his orbit. His 2019 cooperation with federal prosecutors didn't just save his own life and freedom, it painted a target on the back of everyone he cared about, creating a situation where his enemies could hurt him without having to confront him directly. His willingness to testify against his former associates had earned him the ultimate street death sentence, the rat label that made him persona non grata in hip-hop culture, and essentially gave anyone who wanted to target him a free pass. Major players in the rap game like Snoop Dogg, Meek Mill, and 50 Cent had publicly called him out and condemned his actions, which in street terms was like putting a bounty on his head and the heads of anyone close to him. The cultural reaction to 6ix9ine's snitching created an environment where violence against him or his associates wasn't just acceptable, it was almost expected. When respected figures in hip-hop are publicly questioning your manhood and calling you a traitor, it sends a signal to people in the streets that touching you or your people is not only justified, but might even earn you respect and credibility. But the danger to Ariella didn't come from just one source. It came from the intersection of all the different enemies 6ix9ine had made throughout his controversial career. The personal beef with Trippie Redd that we talked about earlier represented one possible motive for her murder. The betrayals within his inner circle, including his falling out with Shotty and the 9 Trey kidnapping situation, created other categories of potential threats. And his cooperation with federal authorities added yet another layer of danger that made everyone around him a potential target. The online speculation about her death immediately focused on these various connections, with social media posts asking questions like, did they kill her because she was 6ix9ine's girl? And comments suggesting that being close to him was essentially a death sentence. The harsh reality is that multiple theories about her murder were plausible because 6ix9ine had made so many enemies from so many different angles. What makes her death particularly tragic is that she had already been a victim of 6ix9ine's dangerous lifestyle once before. Back in 2018, she had been kidnapped by 9 Trey gang members who mistook her for one of his girlfriends, which should have been a clear warning about the risks of being associated with him. The fact that she survived that first incident didn't make her safer. If anything, it probably made her a bigger target because she had seen criminal activity firsthand and could potentially be a witness against the people who had victimized her. The 2018 kidnapping should have been a wake-up call for everyone in 6ix9ine's circle about just how dangerous it was to be connected to him, but instead, it just became another incident in a long list of violent episodes that people seem to accept as part of the lifestyle. The normalization of this kind of violence probably contributed to Ariella staying in 6ix9ine's orbit despite the obvious risks.
Right now, during those 47 years that I would have been serving, I'm 24. I haven't even lived 47 years of my life.
Right.
You're not checking on my mom. You're not paying nothing for my daughter. You're not doing anything for me. You're not even wondering if I'm calling somebody or not.
His decision to snitch had been a calculated move to protect his own future and avoid spending decades in prison. From his perspective, it probably made perfect sense. Why should he sacrifice his life for people who had already betrayed him? But what he might not have fully considered was how his decision would affect everyone else around him. People like Ariella, who had no say in his choices, but would end up paying the consequences. The cruel irony is that while 6ix9ine's cooperation with the government saved him from a lengthy prison sentence, it created a permanent atmosphere of danger that followed him everywhere and touched everyone he had any kind of relationship with. His enemies couldn't easily get to him directly. He probably had security, kept a low profile when necessary, and might have even had some level of federal protection. But the people around him were much more vulnerable, and hurting them was an effective way to hurt him without the significant risks that would come with a direct attack. While his honesty was probably refreshing to some people, his proud admission of cooperating with law enforcement also served as a constant reminder to his enemies of what he had done.
Man, listen, I don't give a if I'm held accountable for what I did. Yes, I snitched, and I did it proudly, right? But everybody who snitches, everybody should be held accountable. Because you can't single someone out.
Every interview where he defended his decision, every social media post where he showed no remorse, was potentially another reason for someone to want revenge. And when direct retaliation against him wasn't feasible, targeting someone like Ariella became an attractive alternative. The investigation into her murder revealed multiple potential motives and theories, with some reports suggesting it might have been related to jealousy or her relationship with someone else entirely, rather than her connection to 6ix9ine. But the fact that so many different explanations seemed plausible only highlighted just how dangerous 6ix9ine's world had become for everyone in it. 6ix9ine's reaction to her death suggested that she had been genuinely important to him, with public tributes where he called her a tremendous woman and spoke about her like family. His grief seemed real and deep, but it also served as a reminder of the ongoing cost of his controversial choices and the way his past decisions continued to claim innocent lives. The murder of Ariella Mejia Polanco was more than just another tragic death in the hip-hop community. It was a stark demonstration that the street code 6ix9ine had violated were still being enforced, just not directly on him. The traditional rules about loyalty, honor, and never cooperating with law enforcement that were supposed to govern street life had been broken by 6ix9ine, but the consequences were being paid by people who had nothing to do with his original crimes or his decision to testify. The streets had found a way to collect their debt from 6ix9ine, and they had chosen to collect it from someone who couldn't fight back, probably couldn't hire expensive lawyers, couldn't cooperate with federal prosecutors to reduce her sentence, and wouldn't be expecting them. Ariella's death served as a warning to anyone else who might consider getting involved with 6ix9ine. The danger is real, it's permanent, and it can come from directions you never expected. Whether her killer was Trippie Redd finally getting his personal revenge, 9 Trey associates settling scores from the snitching situation, former Inner Circle members like Shotty looking for payback, or some combination of his various enemies working together or separately, the end result was the same. An innocent woman paid the ultimate price for being connected to someone whose past decisions had created too many enemies to count and too much hatred to contain. The sad reality is that 6ix9ine had accumulated so many different types of enemies that Ariella's murder could have been ordered by almost anyone. And that's a wrap. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to check out more amazing content on our channel. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.